If you've had any cryptid encounters that you'd like shared on here, email me at jttosstories@gmail.com. Story 1. My relatives have a lot of stories of cryptids and their encounters with them, but my mom's story sticks out the most. When my mom was around 7 or 8, she went to the bathroom to take a shower. The setup of my mom's house was weird. You had to go outside to get from a room to another. It was around 9 p.m., and she told her grandmother to go with her because she obviously didn't want to go alone. When my mom was finished taking a shower, her grandmother went to get a towel for her, so my mom decided to look out the window and admire the full moon. That's when she heard a loud growl. She described it sounding like a generator and a dog barking. In the corner of her eye, she saw what looked like to be a dog. But she wasn't scared because dogs tend to walk near her property. But then the thing started walking around on 2 feet and then climbed on top of the hill next to my mom's house, where it then gave out the loudest howl my mom had ever heard. The thing was huge, and she estimated it to be around 7 or 8 feet tall and weighing over 500 pounds. It had glowing red eyes and smelled like skunk and wet dog. My mom then let out a scream which alerted the creature to a presence, and it rushed towards her. My mom's father and brother heard my mom scream, so they rushed out of their rooms armed with a handgun and they fired at the thing, hitting it, and then the creature started limping away. The next day, my mom and her father went to talk to the local priest about their encounter. That's when he told them that the night before their encounter, a family walking their dog were attacked by the creature and they managed to get away, but their dog didn't make it. My mom still has nightmares about the encounter till this day, and she still wonders what would have happened if her brother and her father weren't there. Thanks for listening. Story 2. This story comes from a man named Josh from San Jose. I'm a Silicon Valley, San Jose native, and have frequented the adjacent Santa Cruz Mountains my whole life. This incident happened on the Loma Prieta Grade Trail in the forest of Nisene Marks State Park in Aptos in the late summer of 2019. My girlfriend at the time and I were hiking on a Wednesday morning. There were definitely already people around. This is a popular trail, as it's a really beautiful locale. However, there were also stretches when it was only the two of us. I think it's a 5-mile or so hike total, and we were about an hour in when my girlfriend had to relieve herself. There were thick trees on both sides, so we looked for a clearing on our right. We saw what was not really a path, but an opening, and walked in past the tree line, maybe 20 to 30 feet in. Not surprisingly, she wanted to be out of sight of anyone who passed by. I tossed her my backpack, which had the toilet paper, and she ducked behind a tree. I walked back down the clearing, about halfway, but I could still see her. She was squatting and everything, and I'm just waiting. Like I said before, I could see her the whole time. It was darker inside the trees, obviously, but I could still see just fine. There's no cell service there, so I'm pretty much just standing around with nothing to do. But I look around while I waited. That's when I caught the movement of something on my left. There was a medium-sized tree with a very distinct, very dark hand on it. It was a hand as clear as day, and only about 10 or so feet away. At first, I thought it was someone wearing black gloves. I don't know why, but my first thought was that it was some creepy biker looking in on my girlfriend. That's when I saw the face peek out, and everything turned upside down. I can't say with full certainty, but I'd say it was about 7 to 8 feet tall easily. I'm about 6'2" for some perspective. I only saw half of it, but it was everything you expect from a classic description of Sasquatch. Big black eyes, large flat nose, dark-skinned with blackish-grayish hair. I could only see a hint of a conical skull. Really, based on nothing in particular, I feel like I saw a female. I'm not sure why, really, I just feel that way. Anyway, it peeked back and forth twice. The eyes were mesmerizing. That's really the best way to describe it. They felt like they were looking right through my soul. I wasn't scared, really, but I was definitely in shock. like the way seeing a car accident happen makes time feel slower. And let me confirm what others will say. There was no way I had the wherewithal to pull out my phone and take a picture. No way, impossible. I was totally engrossed in the moment. This was all in the space of maybe 20 to 30 seconds, and the whole time I'm watching this thing, I'm hearing my girlfriend. Strange, but I was acutely aware of both things at once. The second time it peeked out, it looked at me for a few seconds, then ducked back behind the tree. But it also sank like it was going onto all fours on the ground. That was the last I saw of it. My girlfriend finally finished. When she came back towards me, that was when the fear came upon me. Not like I was in danger right at that moment, but more like the reality of what I'd seen finally hit me. I quickly took her hand and pulled her back onto the trail. I didn't say what I saw, but I said that we had to go back ASAP. She was confused and a little afraid, but I explained to her what I saw as we walked back down the trail, at a much brisker pace than when we came up. She believed me. She's Canadian and has an uncle and cousin who claimed to have seen one when she was growing up, so that was good. Once I explained what I saw, she actually wanted to turn around and see if we could find it, but a real fight or flight mode had kicked inside me by then. I'd say I was generally a Bigfoot believer prior to this, but not anywhere near a fanatic or anything, and it's not like I set out looking for anything. I know people argue that if you have Bigfoot on the brain, you're more likely to jump to that conclusion in certain situations. Maybe that's true, but I did not. In fact, the whole hike, I was complaining to my girlfriend about my angry manager at work. Bigfoot was pretty much the last thing on my mind. A year later, I'm more okay with what happened. The night it happened, however, I slept with the lights on. Silly, I know, given that I live in the middle of a city of 1 million people, but I was pretty shaken up. And I had strange dreams for weeks after, too. They were mostly of my girlfriend being snatched by the creature and me being helpless to do anything. Some of these were pretty intense. I have been hiking only once since my encounter. It was pre-coronavirus, and on the other side of Silicon Valley, in what's called the Diablo Mountain Range. I might hike again someday, in this area of the Santa Cruz Mountains, but I'm in no rush to return. Yes, it's possible a huge guy in a hairy suit was out there at that exact time and in that exact spot, but I don't think so. I'm 99% sure I saw a real, living Sasquatch. Signed, Josh in San Jose.